Have you got one of these? You know how to use it? Want to learn how to use it better? Think it's just for home movies? There's enough consumer video equipment available right now for you to start your own television station. This episode is entitled Advanced Editing. But first we have to say a couple things about what we mean about that so that people who tune in late won't understand what's going on at all. Now, by advanced editing, we're going to be discussing some advanced editing techniques, not necessarily advanced editing equipment. And for the third of the audience who have already said in their minds, oh yeah, sure, where am I ever going to get all that kind of stuff? Well, some points about that. In first place, everything that's sitting on the table here costs about what an American luxury car costs. So it's not as far out of your reach as you may think. But the reason we're using industrial, more expensive equipment for this show is primarily because we don't want to concentrate on the equipment so much as the actual editing. And consumer equipment all has various idiosyncrasies which will affect what we can do. So we're getting a neutral base by switching to industrial editing equipment. Now, what we have on the table here are a pair of VCRs. One's a player, one's a recorder. The recorder's capable of making edits. And because we've jumped up to industrial quality machines, we actually have two soundtracks on the recorder that will enable us to edit each one independently. That way we can lay down some music, say, and then have some other stuff over it. It's interesting to note that the player is just a stripped-down recorder. That's so you don't have to buy all of that sophisticated editing stuff twice. It's only capable of playing back in the edit situation. Controlling the two VCRs is an edit controller. It does a lot of stuff, but it has one main function. Of course, it's capable of controlling either machine to rewind. It has jog shuttle knobs so that we can pick an exact frame. But primarily what it does is control the two machines and synchronize them frame by frame so that an edit can be made in a repeatable spot every time. Now, over my left shoulder is an Amiga computer. We're using it for bread and butter purposes mostly, like to provide titles and, in this case, that logo that's up on the screen. But we'll be demoing a few of the other things you can do later. On top of the two machines is our, still not sure what to call this thing because it's got so many units all boiled down into one package. Okay, the best way to demonstrate this is I have a little camera up there looking at it, and where you have to look is at that monitor, the output of this machine. It's officially called a digital AV mixer, but I think we'll just take it piece by piece. Going beyond time-based correctors and putting enough memory into the system to remember an entire picture gives you frame store effects. The most obvious is freeze frame. Then there's a variation of freeze framing called strobing, which is a succession of freeze frames. And as long as we're converting this all to digital numbers, we can do mathematics on it. This effect is called mosaic. It's often used for letting drug dealers talk on network television. Comes in handy. As well, the machine has some things that don't have to do with the frame store, like a button that allows you to have a negative picture, a control called paint. This gives a kind of a poster paint effect, and an official color corrector that will help you correct for some sins during shooting, like having the wrong white balance. As well as the picture manipulation, the unit is a conventional switcher and does conventional switcher things like dissolving from source to source. The frame store is helping to synchronize these two images, and it will also wipe. As well as these two sources, we've managed to genlock our computer for graphics, and the machine will allow us to add that extra synchronous source as a title over the rest of the picture. Okay, it's time to learn how to use a professional edit controller. But, as the instructions always say, but first, we have to confront ourselves with the two main modes of editing that exist: assemble and insert. Now, we could make this easy and say, never use assemble, forget it, it doesn't work for proper advanced editing. But you should know the reason. Assemble editing is simply for recording a scene, recording another scene, recording another scene. Every time you do an assemble edit, the sound and picture and everything is recorded. And here's where it gets interesting. By everything, not only the sound and picture recorded, but the machine's internal control track is also recorded. As well as the machine is making an assemble edit, the master erase head is erasing tape as it's coming out of the cassette shell before it goes over to the video heads, just like a normal recording. The problem lies in the tail end of the assemble edit. When you stop the machine at the end of an assemble edit, there is a section of tape that has nothing but snow on it. It has no sound, no picture, and especially no control track. Some people call this a glitch, I've seen, but I think a better name for it is a bloody great electronic hole. There's nothing you can ever do to that bloody great electronic hole to cover it up. I'm going to make a little demonstration here. This is an already edited piece on the record machine. There. This is going forward in time now. I'm going to just set my edit so I don't see this scene, okay. There. And over on the player monitor, I've got this guy with the pineapple. I'll just go forward here till the first frame of the guy with the pineapple. Okay, come on. Come on, guy with pineapple. There he is. In. Now, I'm going to just set this thing up to replace this scene of the two ladies walking. Oop. Let's go back to the end of that scene. There it is. They're gone. I'm going to... All right. I've set up my controller to replace that one scene, and it's in assemble. Okay. Sort of hurts me to push this button, but that's just a copy of my tape anyway. You don't think I'd actually wreck my tape for you. Okay, the machines are rolled back. They're rolling forward. At the end of the scene, we'll see the replacement scene with the guy with the pineapple on the record machine, and it's done. Okay. We've apparently replaced the guy with the pineapple over those two ladies walking down the street, but here's what really happened because of the assemble mode. Okay, just go forward here. There's the lady at the meat counter, and I'm going to play. Watch what happens at the end of my assemble edit. This will permanently wreck the middle of my show. I've created an unrepairable hole. Here's the tail end of my assemble edit. Immediately following, a section of both picture and sound has been erased. In the assemble edit mode, you can only edit forward one shot after another. You can't go back and change a shot unless you have the insert edit mode. In order to insert onto a videotape, there has to be something already on the videotape, something stable and continuous. That means if you're making a 20-minute show, you have to record at least 20 minutes of something or other on the tape first. We use something called video black. You can simulate it just about perfectly by taking your camcorder with the lens cap on and record that down the length of your program. It doesn't really matter whether the cap's on or off, if there's a picture or not, you'll be editing over it. But what does matter is that the camcorder's sync signals will make the recorder lay down a continuous, smooth, unbroken control track. Okay, the machine needs it as a reference. Let's make an edit. The buttons in the center of this controller are the buttons that all have to do with editing. Now, across the top are the edit mode buttons. The dreaded assemble mode only requires one button because an assemble edit will initiate the recording of video and both audio tracks simultaneously. The insert mode requires 3 buttons because any one of those items can be recorded separately. Coming down to the yellow buttons a bit, the yellow buttons allow you access to the points that you've marked for where you want your edits to begin and end. Using the in and out on the recorder and the in and out on the player, in conjunction with some other buttons, you can modify things. For instance, using the plus and minus trim while holding one of those buttons will allow you to adjust a frame at a time the point at which the edit either takes place or finishes. In conjunction with the go-to button, it'll send the tape whizzing to the frame you've selected as an in or an out on either machine. Now, the simplest edit can be made by simply marking an in on the player. That'll be the frame where you want the new scene to begin, and an in on the recorder, which is the frame where you want the new scene to begin recording. If you're the brave type, you come down here and push the big red button. If you're not too particularly brave, or if there's anything slightly complex about your edit, you might want to hit preview first. That'll force the machines to simulate what the edit would look like without actually doing a recording. That allows you to go back and use those trim buttons to modify it slightly. Once you're happy with the preview, you can then do an edit start, and the recording will actually happen the way you saw it preview. Of course, If things get totally out of hand, you can't even figure out what's going on, you just hit all stop. That stops everything and lets you think a bit. I wonder if it'll work with our show. All right, we're just going to cut a little motion here. I have a zoom, there's my black, and I've just recorded this shot. I'll zoom into the nuts sign, and that's all I have on my tape so far. And there's my black again. Let's go back. Okay. Now, I'd like to do this for motion, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a point just before that zoom stops. This is not to say you have to pick a point before your zoom stops. This is just something I'm trying. And over here on the layer, I have this nice shot of motion, but when it was shot in the camera, it came from a dissolve that was done in the camera. So just watch as that dissolve goes through, and after that guy walks in, you notice we still have a zoom happening. So I'm going to take this right after the guy walks past, and the dissolve is all finished. In actual fact, I like this zoom, so I'm going to use it. I'm going to cheat a little bit and maybe have this guy's arm in a bit. You won't be too conscious of it because it's down there in the frame. Okay, mark in there, and on the recorder, I mark in, and that's it. I'm ready to push the button. I think we'll push the big red button. We won't preview this because we're just experimenting. Machines have rolled back and stopped there. Now they're both playing forward. And it's nice, at least the camera zoom carried through. We can do a bit of a post-mortem on this. Now, I over-recorded a bit because I don't know exactly where I'm going to want to pick up that movement with the next shot. So I just recorded a little extra until I was sure I didn't want it. I didn't want that shot. Let's just play that. Okay, here comes black, my nut sign. Yeah, it's motion. One wonders where I could go with it. But this is just a case of editing some stuff that we happen to have on the tape. In actual fact, if I was working for motion or something, I wouldn't be doing my pictures first. I would have recorded some sound first, maybe some music, and then I would have had that as a pacing guide as well to help me carry through some of those moments where I couldn't sustain the movement. Anyway, I think it's about time we went out and shot something real that we can edit. So we're going to use another one of those sophisticated transitions we've invented. In showing you how to make an instructional video, we'll be showing you how to shoot so that you can edit later. Some of these techniques could be applied to other kinds of video, such as a corporate video or a sales video. There are hundreds of reasons why you might be faced with making an instructional video, and there are thousands of different instructional videos you might want to make. Now, originally we were going to list those hundreds of reasons and thousands of types, but I think we'll skip the list and you can do your own kind of association and think about what goes on in your life and why you may want to do this. We've chosen to make a bicycle video. Now, the reason to make this might be to lend to a customer to take home if they're going to assemble their own bicycle, or more specifically in this case, we're going to try to use it to train new employees here at the shop. And I don't know if you've ever assembled anything from instructions, but you know that there's more to assembling a bicycle than can be fit on one piece of paper, particularly in the usage of tools and the attitude you bring to the job and things like that. So, we're going to begin. Now, unlike a lot of productions, we're not going to use a script. There are a couple of reasons. One is it's too much trouble, and mechanical operations refuse to follow scripts no matter how carefully written they are. Instead, we're going to do a kind of a video script. Film people would call it a master shot. I'm just going to call it the wide shot. What I'm going to do is take one overall shot of the whole operation and have Gary explain as he goes how to assemble this bicycle. Then, since I'm planning on editing, I'm going to go back later, we're going to assemble it a second time and get all the close little cutaways of the operation. And ultimately, in the edited version, we'll probably use a mixture of Gary's explanation here and voice over to clarify any details. Okay, you need these instructions?
Not yet.
Okay, well, I'll hang on to them for you. I haven't even figured out how to read them. Okay, I'm ready to record this for posterity, so give us that master shot.
Okay. I guess that one of the most important things...
This is the beginning of several master shots. We plan to insert close-ups into the master shot later. Here we want to superimpose Gary's name later in the editing stage, and so we've left plenty of room at the bottom of the frame for that. Zooming into Gary's face also helps us introduce him. Most of our close-ups, though, will be on the actual bike parts and tools. We've attached a small lavalier microphone to Gary's t-shirt to get a better voice recording. His voice that we record in the master shot will accompany close-ups that we add later in editing, like we're doing now. Or you could add a new voiceover at the editing stage, kind of like what I'm doing now. Ooh, back to me.
Okay, Gary, hold on. Just show me what you're going to do.
You can shoot the master shot several times to get it right. After completing the first master satisfactorily, get the instructor to go over the main points again, but this time, shoot close-ups. These so-called cutaways work best if they're shot from a different camera angle. To help the instructor relax, make sure they understand that you can shoot as many takes as you like.
With your 6mm Allen key, you tighten it up. One rule of thumb to remember.
Coming up is an example of a bad jump cut caused by cutting between two fairly similar shots. Ugh, not a good cut. To overcome this, you can change angles or add a close-up of something else as a cutaway. If you have a nifty video editing effects board, you could fix it up with a wipe or a dissolve. Paying attention to camera angles is important. Changing angles keeps the video interesting and also lets you see things more clearly.
If you're looking in your viewfinder at somebody doing something and you can't quite see what it is they're doing, it's important that you take the time to find a new camera angle and position that will allow you to see exactly what you wanted to see so that you can intercut it when you're editing later. This is where video has its most power, is in that ability to get the viewer, you know, down on the floor where they wouldn't normally be so that they can see everything in intimate detail. Throw again.
Using close-ups not only shows more detail, but having lots of close-ups makes editing easier and more flexible. Close-ups are also useful for adding extra voiceover later. An instructional video is often hard to plan, so it's good to be ready for some improvisation.
Okay, so I'll roll and just pull the wheel a little bit more out. I'm just trying to get it out of my picture before we start. Okay, it's all yours.
If you're unsure, cover for yourself by shooting different angles and sort it out later in the edit room, or as some say, save it in the edit room, like we're doing with this cutaway of me. How should we end this scene? Okay, pull back.
Then I always like to bounce it once or twice on the ground to make sure it doesn't make any weird and strange noises. Check the brakes, and away we go.
Okay, now, that took, well, let's just say the better part of a day. And I used, what's the counter say? I used about 90 minutes worth of tape. And since we're hoping to compress this down to about 8 minutes, that's roughly a 10-to-1 shooting ratio, as they say in the industry. Should be good, though, because I think we've got close-ups to cover just about everything. We'll find out in the edit room. I've been dreading this. Not dreading the editing. I've been dreading the demonstration of the editing. You see, watching someone edit is pretty boring. Editing itself is fascinating, and you may find yourself staying up all night to do it just because, oh, this is really interesting, I'm in control. But watching someone edit is so boring that most professional edit suites actually have a comfy couch behind the editor so the client can go to sleep, which they do very often. All right, we'll try to make it interesting. The other aspect is that, of course, the production team is going to take what I do, and then they're going to edit the editing, so it'll be really fascinating to see this when it's all done. I'm ready to edit. I've logged my shoot tapes. You may wish to make very extensive logs of your tapes, exactly every shot listed. I don't. For instance, at 5 minutes and 10 seconds, I've logged pan of tools and parts, and then right after, various static shots of parts. So if I want some parts laying on the table, I'll just go up to that notation I made, and I'll look around using the jog shuttle knob. Okay, I think we're ready to edit. You should probably be looking over my shoulder. There's a nice comfy couch right back there. Okay. Now, don't think I'm too particularly brilliant here. I have done this before just to make sure what I was going to do was going to work, because it would even take longer if I had to think about everything in complete detail. So, black on the recording machine, mark in. Now, I don't really care about the start of this
piece because I'm going to put an opening animation in later that I'm going to make on the Amiga.
Here's my second shot. I'm going to put Gary's name on it from the Amiga computer. You can get other kinds of title makers. Oh, sorry, the posh name is character generators. Character generators have a variety of letter styles called fonts, and they come in different sizes, from big to small, from uppercase to lowercase. This is a drop shadow, great for readability. You'll notice that we're showing you just some of the main points. We don't have the time to show you everything, since editing a 30-second sequence like this could take half a day. We only have a few minutes.
Here we go. Now those are tools. Gary's talking about parts. I'm just going to run the shot until the tools are gone. Isn't editing fun? Okay. Here's the end of the tools and the start of the bicycle parts. So, I'm going to be a little brave here. It's not customary editing practice to cut to a shot while it's moving, but it's going to work. Trust me.
Okay, there's the shot I just recorded, and here's the new shot. This will be added in the insert edit mode, video only, keeping Gary's voice. The next shot will simply be the continued shot of Gary.
Okay, let's record that.
The machines require a few seconds run-up time to get in sync. If you have the feature, preview the edit so you can see how the shot works.
The little nuts and bolts can be left in the bottom, and you'd be looking around all day for them. The other thing that the key thing is when you're
Okay. You notice the machine rolls on a little bit past the edit point so you can get a feeling of how the popped-out shot works on the recorder. Now, the next thing is I have a terrible jump cut here.
That way, you ensure that the quality of
this is horrendous.
brakes and tires inflated, things like that. One thing we have to remember is...
So, at the very beginning of this shot, right there is my in, and I want to cover that with, oh right, he's putting on the greasing the head tube at 10 minutes. It's important and when you're shooting cutaways not to have the person's lips visible. He's almost visible there, and he's not saying the same thing, of course.
Here's the close-up of Gary's face. Now the video-only cutaway over the other shot of Gary's face. We've solved the jump cut problem.
The handlebar stem never seizes up inside the handlebar tube. Then when you put the handlebar stem in, you use your 6mm Allen key bolt.
Now we can pop out of insert to the other shot of Gary's face without a jump cut. Instructional videos often require some form of graphics. Here, I'm going to write on the picture by simply using the mouse of our computer. The freeze frame comes from the switcher.
Right, now we intend to put a bit of voiceover in here, so that will excuse the time it took to draw the arrow. I just checked that whole sequence, see if it was smooth enough.
Using it in through the head tube to ensure that, that the handlebar stem never seizes up inside the handlebar tube. Then you put the handlebar stem in, you use your 6mm Allen key bolt and tighten it up. One rule of thumb to remember is lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. And that way we always remember how to loosen and tighten the nuts and bolts on the bicycle. And then from there, we put on our handlebars. Slide them in, and we tighten them up.
Later, we'll add voiceover, something like, "This is a 6mm Allen key, turn it clockwise."
It's as far as I'm going to go with the editing demo. Hey, wake up!
Let's take a look at the edited sequence as you would do a storyboard. You might want to sketch out a storyboard or write a shot list before shooting, more before editing.
Okay, I promised that I was going to put a little title at the beginning of my bicycle edit, and you probably thought I was crazy to leave it until the last thing I did, but I'll show you how it's done. We're using the Amiga to actually do the final combination of picture, its own animation over the background picture you're going to see. The Amiga monitor is there.
The player is there. This is the output of my switcher because I want to do a fade up from black, and this is the output of my recorder. The first thing to do is to find where I want the edit to come out. I'm going to be in the insert mode, so I can stop the edit I'm making and pop out back to my guy talking. The animation of our main title is superimposed over the video. Adding music to it helps. It lets everyone know the show is about to begin. Okay, it's in the right place. It's a little loose. But the interesting thing about building this whole bicycle animation and inserting in the thing is it only took about as long as it takes to build a bicycle, which is good, I think. Okay, as an assignment, go out and make an instructional video. It doesn't have to be on bicycle assembly. Could be how to make a pizza from start to finish, or how to garden. Could be a sales video pitching the latest product. Who knows, it might be the beginning of a whole new career for you. You could become rich and famous and hire people to edit for you. Then you get to sleep on that comfy couch. Yo, Peter!
Home videos of this videography series are all available on a set of 2 VHS tapes. To order, call 1-800-854-5500. Each tape is almost 2 hours long and costs $40 per tape. Also available for $33, the illustrated 176-page videography book, which expands upon the tapes. Or you may choose the combined package, 2 tapes and the book, for $89. Call 1-800-854-5500 anytime. Pay by credit card, check, or money order.